All right, thanks for joining us today for this quick look at Human Torch number 58, one of the chases from the War of the Realms set. Okay, we're going to take a look at what he does and break down a few examples of how to use him on the battlefield so that you have a good understanding of what makes this figure so great. So he is coming in with the Asgardian, Fantastic Four, and Deity keywords. Okay, Asgardians has a ton of new options in Modern to build around. Fantastic Four has a ton, and Deity is traditionally a pretty solid one. So 3 good keywords to build around this figure. He does have improved movement, destroys block-in, and improved targeting, destroys block-in. So the movement one is where you can move through block-in terrain and then destroys it after he ends his movement. And the improved targeting is where he can target through one square and destroy that square after he shoots. Okay, he has a trait and a special attack power. His trait is Human Torch deals penetrating damage. Okay, that first part, that's just what it is. Deals penetrating damage, period. He can do that with any damage he deals, it's penetrating. Also, in that trait is free. Choose a debris marker within range. Opposing characters occupying or adjacent to the marker are dealt 1 damage. One thing to note here is it's choose a debris marker. So not next to all debris. You have to take a free action, choose one, and then deal out that damage. Now, when he deals damage, it's penetrating damage. So the figures occupying or adjacent to that marker are dealt 1 damage. He's going to have a range of 7. So that's also notice that it's not within line of fire, it's just within range. So you pick a debris marker within 7 squares and then deal out that damage. His special attack power is poison, but deals damage even if moved or placed this turn. Okay, he's coming in with the Fantastic Four team ability and Mystics. Let's take a look at the back of his card. All right, so if you play him, he has 2 point values, 100 and 50. I see merit in either point value, depending on what you want to do with the rest of your team. So we'll take a look at both of them. At 100 points, you're getting 8 clicks. He's starting with an 11 movement run-in shot, 12 attack with that special poison, where he can poison even after he's been moved. And remember, he deals penetrating damage, so it's penetrating poison. The 100 points will get you an 18 energy shield, so 20 from range, 18 up close. 4 damage with prob. Okay, pretty solid. You can move 6 squares and then shoot 7 with 2 targets, dealing 4 penetrating damage. If they come up close to you, you can punch with a 12, dealing 4 penetrating damage. So no matter what, he's dealing out that penetrating damage. At 50 points, you're getting 4 clicks, starting with Sidestep. Now, you don't start with that special poison, but what you do start with is Energy Explosion. 11 attack, 2 target Energy Explosion. And remember, he deals penetrating damage, so that's penetrating Energy Explosion. So that 2 damage to multiple targets can add up pretty quick. He'll be coming in with a 17 toughness and a 3 damage with enhancement. For only 50 points, that gives you a lot of room to build, and depending on what you put around him, plus his ability to shoot and destroy a block and then deal out damage that way also with the free debris marker, with the free pick a debris marker, either point value is pretty good. I'm going to be trying him on builds at either at both 100 and at 50. Let me know in the comments below what point value you're leaning towards. I'm going to play test it, and really I see value in both of them. All right, let's take a look then at what he can do on the battlefield. All right, let's take a look at this type of example, and we'll take a look at a couple other examples here because really you can do a bunch of different things with this version of Human Torch. Okay, for this example, we're going to say that Dazzler over there and Mad Hatter are the opponent's team. And we're going to say that Human Torch here is on your force. Okay. On this type of setup, if you can't tell, right here is a big block of block-in terrain. Okay, and then there's some open air squares on this particular map, and Dazzler's over here, where she would usually be safe behind this block-in. Okay, and then you have Mad Hatter over here. With the 2 targets, the way you can use that is improved target-in, block-in. What it does is it has once per range attack, this character can draw a line of fire through one piece of block-in terrain. Immediately after the attack resolves, destroy that piece of block-in. So on this diagonal, he can draw a line of fire, Human Torch can, through this piece of block-in terrain to take his shot on Dazzler. He has a range of 7. He has 2 targets, so he can also target from this square all the way over here to Mad Hatter. So he can dual target, starting on his top click with a 4 damage. And again, he deals penetrating damage, so that would be 4 penetrating divided among his hit characters, his hit targets. Okay, he can run and shot to get up here. I'm just starting him here for frame so you can see the example. Okay, so that's one way you can do it. Then after he would shoot, this would become debris marker here because he shot through that block in terrain. Okay, let's say the setup's slightly different. Let's say that they are hiding here behind the block-in, and that Human Torch is somewhere else on the map. He has an 11 movement on that top click if you play him at 100 points. Okay, now keep in mind, he does fly, but keep in mind for destroy improved movement block-in, here's what it says. The character can move through block-in terrain. Immediately after movement resolves, destroy all block-in terrain moved through. Now, he has to... Sometimes this tricks up players. Just because he has improved movement blocking doesn't mean he can move and then stop here and then sit in a debris marker. He has to be able to get out of that blocking because these do not get destroyed until after movement is done. So if he's somewhere else on the map, we're going to say that he moves, then he flies, so he can move through this blocking and then go over these characters also. So let's say he goes through 1, 2, and if you want to destroy everything, he can zigzag through here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and place over there. Now, as soon as that movement would end, he would make debris markers in all those squares. Okay, so let's just say he busts them all. We'll just put these 3 in here as an example. Okay, now on his top point value, he can deal his damage even though he's been moved or placed. So right now, we're going to say he just moved, not run and shot or anything else. Just moved through there, goes next to these 2, and then activates poison. Gets an action token for his movement, activates poison, gives them each 1 penetrating damage. Then his trait is free, choose a debris marker within range. So he doesn't have to see these. Even though he looks pretty big, he is a standard size figure, so not a giant or colossal. He doesn't need to see these debris markers. He can just free choose one within 7 squares. So he'll choose that one, and then it is opposing characters occupying or adjacent to the marker are dealt 1 damage. Since he deals penetrating damage, that means another penetrating damage to each one of those figures. Okay, so that's how you can use them, even if it's to move out 11 squares and then ping people for penetrating damage. Okay, and as you can see on that top click, you can ping them for the poison, and then if you have the block and terrain to kind of move through, then you can also do that. Okay, let's take a look at another example here, and this one is sometimes overlooked, so it might not be obvious right off the bat. But if you have, we're going to put these Lokis out here. These Lokis have Mystics. So let's say you have some Lokis going on with some Mystics damage that you don't want to be taken. Mystics only triggers off of the attacks, and your Human Torch also has Mystics. So what Mystic says is each time this character takes damage from an opposing character's attack, after resolution, deal the attacker 1 penetrating damage. Okay, so Human Torch here has a couple different ways, as you just saw, of dealing damage that are not through an attack. Doesn't have to roll, doesn't have to hit anybody. He can just deal out some damage. On his top point value, you can do that through the poison and through his debris marker trait. And at his lower point value, you can do that through his debris marker trait. It doesn't start with the penetrate and poison after movement. Okay, but what you can do is there are some options on figures that can generate 1 or 2 block and terrain squares. And there's equipment that can do that too. So you could equip Human Torch with one of those items. There's at least one that does 1 block and terrain for free. So, or you can build around it. At 50 points, you have all kinds of different things you can do here. But let's say we put the equipment on Human Torch. He can generate a free block and terrain marker 7 squares out. Then he could move through this square. Since he flies, he could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, just move to bust it. He could then choose that debris marker to deal penetrating damage to both of these characters here. And since that's not an attack, it doesn't trigger Mystic, so it's a good way to get rid of little pogs or things that you just need to ping for 1 without even have to worrying about attack. Okay, let's take a look at one last example here so you get a complete understanding of some of the more nuanced pieces of how a figure like this can move and how his traits and powers all combine together. Okay, so let's say that Human Torch is still your team. We got Dazzler, 2 PD officers, and Hulk as the opponents. He's on Human Torch. Let's say he's at his top click, which is the 11 movement run and shot dual target. And remember, he has the improved movement, destroys blocking. So he's going to fly. He can go 6 and then shoot 7. So he would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's say he moves through these 2 squares. He goes over here. And then as soon as that, immediately after that movement happens, then the block and terrain gets destroyed. Then he can make his run and shot attack, 2 targets. Say he attacks Hulk and the PD officer. Then he would choose a debris marker, so only 1. Even though he destroyed 2, you can't do that. You can't choose them both with your free. So you take a free action, then choose one of those debris markers. So you could choose that one, and then deal poise or deal 1 penetrating damage to these 3 characters since they're adjacent. Or you could choose this one and deal 1 damage to these 3 characters, again being penetrating since damage Human Torch deals penetrating damage. Okay, hopefully that gets you a good idea of a few of the different scenarios that go on with Human Torch. 50 points, 100 points value at both levels. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and thanks for watching today. Check it out. If you dig what we do, go ahead and like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.